Pearce, let's go to Chicago here. How will the hire of defensive-minded Matt Eberflus impact Justin Fields' potential, like in your mind?
This is the biggest deal out of nothing. This idea that the head coach, if they're defensive-minded or offensive-minded, sways the team one way or the other. We've learned this lesson plenty of times before. The biggest example, and it's a huge sample size, is Brian Billick for the Ravens. Supposedly was one of the greatest offensive minds over the last 3 decades. And what did he do at Baltimore? He had one of the worst offenses every single season. He won Super Bowls through defense, but he was supposed to be an offensive guy. A head coach is a managerial position. They just make sure that the personnel are doing their jobs, morale is high, the team is motivated. They're not the innovators. They're not the creators. That's up to the coordinators. And what Justin Fields doesn't necessarily need is a coordinator or another coach. He needs an offensive line. The Bears have needed an offensive line for several years. Ask Mitch Trubisky. Ask Andy Dalton. It's not the coaching. It's the line. And oh, by the way, they could also use some receivers too. Allen Robinson, not quite what he used to be. Darnell Mooney, not really the most dependable wide receiver. He doesn't have any weapons. He doesn't have a line. I don't care who the coach is.
All right, well, he did hire Packers passing game coordinator Luke Getsy to be his offensive coordinator, Geoff. So kind of familiar there with the division. But what does the offense need to look like for him to be successful?
So this will be probably the one thing we agree with Pearce and I on this one. I think that hiring offensive-minded coaches is actually starting to become like a very negative thing for your team. These coaches design their offenses and they want the players to run their offenses for them. Matt Nagy was that guy. He was so adamant about having the right personnel to run his offense. He went out and got Andy Dalton and started him over Justin Fields. I love this hire of Matt Eberflus. I don't know how you pronounce it. Eberflus.
Yeah, it's Eberflus, I think.
This guy has said the exact right things. And you know what? You can just tell he has common sense. It's much like Brandon Staley in the Chargers. He had the common sense. I have Justin Herbert. I'm going to throw it 40 times a game. And that's what they did. And Matt Eberflus sounds like he's going to do the same thing. He says he wants chunk plays. Explosive athletic ability is the traits we're looking for, he says. That equals chunk plays on offense. You can't stop that on the opposing defense. If you have chunk plays, he says, I want to build my offense around Justin Fields. Look, he didn't hire Luke Getsy to do this fancy offensive coordinator thing where we're just going to pick and choose our quarterback. He hired Luke Getsy because this is a dude getting his first shot, and he's going to design the offense around the quarterback for Matt Eberflus. I don't know. I'm sorry. But look, I think this is a very positive hire for Justin Fields, and I'd be very excited if I was a Chicago Bear fan. He had a very, very efficient, good, scrappy defense in the Colts, and I think he's got the right mind. He's got common sense, which is like Pearce alluded to. That's what you need as a head coach. You're a manager. You're not the guy who designs all the plays and then tries to fit square pegs in round holes.